Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Hi there, welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today we are radiating connection with Jill Dutton, who is the editor and publisher, your publisher, yes?
Yes.
Yes, of Evolving Magazine, the popular metaphysical magazine that we have here in Kansas City, in the Kansas City area. And welcome, Jill. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Christy.
I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a while. Thank you so much. Yes. And anyway, we love Evolving Magazine. I check it out every month, and Radiate Wellness has an ad in it that we run. And you've been doing this for how long now?
Oh my gosh, 94 to 2000. I started originally Evolving Woman magazine.
I remember that.
It was fun. It was a real learning experience. Then in 2009, we came back with just Evolving Magazine, and so that it encompasses everyone. So
women and men,
yes.
Absolutely. That's
because I found with Evolving Woman that we would have a lot of readers, a lot of men would say, "Is it okay I'm reading this?" It's like, yes,
really?
Of course it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. So how do you think the two magazines differ?
They're really the same. It really is, because it's for everyone. It always has been.
Yeah.
But, we had a little bit more menopause type and menses and things like that we would cover in Evolving Woman. But the main focus of spirituality, metaphysics, and psychology is still the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that in my practice and the classes that I teach, the workshops and everything, it's mostly women who attend. So I'm always excited when men are coming out to explore. And I want them to be included.
Yes, absolutely. And our readership is still 80% women. But it's nice to have the men included as well. And,
absolutely.
And for advertising, too. A lot of men are practitioners in this type of field. So
more and more I'm finding. Yeah, how do you feel the demographics or the people who are contributing to the magazine, how do you feel like that's changed since the 90s?
Well, what I found when I first started Evolving Woman magazine, it was a topic new to myself, really. It was kind of a learning experience when I created the publication. It was an outgrowth of what I was going through. But when it first came to Kansas City, it wasn't that people weren't practicing Reiki and aromatherapy and all these different modalities. It was more that it was kind of under covers. It wasn't quite as out there commercially, with people having shops and being in business, because it was a big step to go out there and do, this kind of a practice on your own back in 1994 in Kansas City. It was just, it was a stretch. And so that was a little different. So then when I came back in 2009, it had exploded, and it's a mainstream that everybody's like, oh yeah, my Reiki did this, and I did,
Right. Oh, my sister's aunt's best friend's cousin does this. Right. Everybody seems to know someone who's got a metaphysical business. It has just exploded.
It has.
I mean, not just here in Kansas City, but elsewhere as well. I used to live in Geneva, Switzerland. I don't know if you knew. Yeah. In the 90s, and when I lived there, it was the same thing. Maybe it was there, but nobody knew about it. And now it's just exploded all over the world.
And what I've found that readers have told me is that the magazine, and our event section in particular, it kind of brings the city together, because you've got events in Olathe, and you've got them in Liberty, and all over the city, and it kind of creates that community of bringing everybody together in one place with like minds. You know what I mean? And it's how to find them. And I thought of something that you were saying with that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, with the events section, I know that we get a lot of people from the events section when we have our events listed. That people are trying to find their tribe.
Yes.
People, when they're starting to waken up to this whole new world, really, this inner world, that they want to find others who think like that.
Yes.
And they want to find people to talk to.
And that was what I was trying to say. I apologize. In 94, the difference was, the businesses weren't out there so much, but people still were not real familiarized with a lot of these topics. And what we found is our readers are still pretty new to the topics, but they have a deep interest in exploring it. And so that's been the difference, I guess, that I've seen.
That's it. And, and I feel like Evolving is kind of a safe publication. It's very open. It's very, it's normalized all of these things that used to be undercovers, used to be seen as too woo-woo.
Right.
Right? But it's a beautiful magazine, and you recently went to a new format. A glossy format. Those of you on YouTube can see how beautiful this is. The colors are just rich and vibrant, and the artwork, the layout is stunning.
Thank you.
It was nice before.
Right. And it was functional. You know what I mean?
And it was functional,
It's always been a resource for the community, but when we had the opportunity to just get this, the color and the gloss and the shine that the topics really deserve,
Absolutely.
And it draws attention to it. And like you said, it's a safe place. We used to call it soft new age, or it's just really self-help, spirituality kind of topics, to where now it makes it more friendlier, I believe, kind of with it being glossy. So
I've been in some other markets where their new age newspaper, their new age publications, they were just really for the hardcore spiritual person or seeker or energy worker. And not that Evolving is not, because I find so much good stuff in there. But it's for people who are also not in that. And it helps draw them in and realize that there's a big community. And so you're here in Kansas City, and it's got a wide reach.
Definitely, 250 locations throughout the metro.
Oh my gosh.
And online as well. We've got about 68,000 readers per month. So online and print combined.
Right, right. So online really reached the whole world.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Now, how did you get into doing something like this?
Oh my gosh. My father passed away in 1990. And that's why I say, when I say it's for people who are new to these topics, I myself, and people used to joke and say Evolving Woman, the original publication, was by Jill for Jill, because it was really, honestly, an outgrowth of, as I was learning about something, everybody else was learning about it.
Why not?
And so what happened was, my father passed away, and I started going to a counselor, and that was actually when I decided to become a writer, because I found that writing about my father and the experiences, I discovered that power of bringing things down and getting them out, and how it releases you. But then I also saw the written word and the ability to express myself that I didn't know I had. And so I started writing. Well, at the same time, this counselor had me reading a lot of self-help books.
Right.
So I started with Shakti Gawain and all the traditional, building up, and started journaling and reading, and I kept reading these books, and I would think, gosh, I wish there was something that just had the meat of this topic.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading this whole book, but there's only really a slim amount of it that's actually what you need to know. And so it was really the seed for the magazine was, I want to bring these topics to life and give them the meat of it. Break it down so that it's understandable. And what to do and experiential, so that they can branch into it.
So, and if it's something that they're interested in, they can seek out more information.
Sure. Oh, definitely.
And
then our writers and our advertisers, they're experts in the field. And so it is a way, it's an introduction to learn more.
It is, right. And then there's just, the topics are fresh and relevant and, just enough to get you interested in whatever the topic is. And, of course, you're reading a magazine in short bursts of time, and it's what you can get at the time. Yes,
it's quick, but you can get,
you can get
condensed info.
Yeah, so before you started this magazine, did you have any publishing experience?
No.
That was a huge leap of faith, Jill.
I was very self-taught. And what was really a funny story was, I was a non-traditional student. I had my children when I was young.
Right.
And so I didn't go to college until I was in my late 20s. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was originally at Johnson County Community College. And I knew I kept taking English classes. I loved literature, and that was all I knew. I loved my composition class, and I loved reading.
Yeah.
And so I transferred to KU and decided, okay, I want to go into journalism because I have way too many credits. I've got to do something with this English thing going on here. And so I transferred to KU into the magazine publishing segment. And a friend had contacted me and said, I had this idea for this magazine I wanted to start. So right before I started at KU, I came out with Evolving Woman.
Oh my gosh.
And so being in the magazine publishing segment at KU, the teacher would use it as an example, and it wasn't very complimentary. And she would say, you're going to run out of topics in a year, and you don't have an audience for this. And so she just didn't get it. And so I really kept the magazine to myself more in that sense. But so I learned a little bit at school, but most of it was self-taught as I went.
Right.
And I was telling you earlier that I took that 9-year hiatus.
Yeah.
Evolving Woman was from 1994 to 2000, and then I took off from 2000 to 2009, and during that period I worked in the publishing business. And so I learned a lot that I didn't know the first go around. So when I came back in 2009, it was a whole different experience. Plus I had all the contacts from before, but it was just, for the longest time until I started traveling 4 years ago, I was doing almost everything. And I still do too much, but the layout, the design, the marketing, the promotions, the bookkeeping and the billing and the, just other than...
That's huge.
Yeah, the sales. I mean, I was, doing so much myself. But since 2009, I've had a couple salespeople. I've had an editor.
Yeah.
But then about 4 years ago, I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. Have you read that?
No, not yet.
In it, he promotes kind of outsourcing yourself, that entrepreneurs tend to get caught up in the day-to-day minutia, the emails and just the little to-do tasks when they really should be doing the big thinking.
Yeah.
And so, and it hinders the big thinking when they are spending all their time answering emails and, those kind of things. And so I got that idea and I thought, we had the Conscious Living Center in Neiman, in Shawnee, and we were moving out of it. And so I had this block of time that was going to open up for myself. And I thought, how do I want to fill that? And I thought, I want to travel. And so...
Good for you.
Yes. And so I took Tim Ferriss's idea, his advice, and I brought someone in. I was just looking for someone to help. I didn't know what I needed. Yeah. And it turned out that she had a design degree, and so she ended up taking over the web design and the print layout, both of them. And that freed up 2 weeks of my time. And so
that's fantastic.
Yes, and so to have that freedom to be able to do the magazine and still be involved and do all the other jobs that I do, but then to also have big ideas and focus more on festivals and events that we do and branching out into other cities, like we were in Santa Fe for a while, things like that, and to travel. So it just really freed me up, and all it did was take away me, doing so many of, because layout, after so many years, it's a real rote job. You know what I mean?
It is. You can lay out a page only so many ways.
Right. And so I needed the creative expression, I guess, to be able to go do other things as well.
Absolutely. Well, you're the person with the vision, and and you've got the connections too, and that is so invaluable. And before we started, you were telling me a bit about some of the things that you learned during that 9-year hiatus.
I did.
Right? So you knew all about the magazine writing, the publishing, the layout, and all like that, but you were missing a crucial piece,
which was the business side of
Absolutely.
publishing. And it's probably the most critical, but what I was saying earlier, the fun part for someone, especially with a journalism background, is the writing and the lining up the themes for each month and getting the cover art and just putting the creative end of it is the fun part. And it takes a real, I took that test once and I've got like an equal left and right brain.
That's kind of rare.
It is kind of rare. And so when I branched into Santa Fe, New Mexico, the obstacle I found was finding someone who could do both of those roles, because it's two very distinct hats, but as publisher, you have to wear them. Or at least as publisher in this small of a publication, you have to be able to wear both of those hats. And so when I published Evolving Woman magazine, we'd have the meetings and we'd plan, and it was so much fun, but it was not successful. It just, it was there for 6 years, and part of it was the awareness in the community. It wasn't as accepted as it is now. But most of it was my lack of knowledge, But I was self-taught and I learned as I went. But then, so when I took the hiatus from 2000 till 2009, I worked for real publishing companies. And so I had real sales training and, and the difference of what it's like for print advertising and, and things like that. Mm-hmm. So when I came back, I had a whole different mindset and different, a different to-do list, because it's still, I love the creative end of it, but I know, the business has to be taken care of first.
Right. And you're just connecting those two worlds, those two hats.
And a lot of times in the spiritual world, it's tough to get those two together.
It
you know
is.
What I mean?
Yeah, because we're up here in the upper chakras and we're not really grounded. So that is hard.
Yeah.
We need people in the spiritual community who know how to do that.
Yes, or having salespeople. And like I said,
Exactly.
I've had people who are able to do that. I mean, a lot of people don't believe me, but I'm bitterly shy. And we would go to festivals and things, but I had these dynamo salespeople who would get out and talk to people, and I could just sit there, and be shy, and it was fine,
Yeah.
So even if, what I'm trying to say is, even in the metaphysical world, if someone doesn't have those skill sets, if you have someone helping you that does, it can balance that out.
It can balance it out, absolutely. And you really have a great talent for drawing people, the right people, and getting the right, connecting. Connecting people. Have you always been a connector?
I've always felt like that was my purpose, was to connect.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. When I've done kind of free writing and things on my own, that's what's come to me is, because for a long time I was insecure that I don't know much about any, there are so many in-depth topics that we cover. I can't know everything about everything.
Right.
And I was a little insecure about that because I thought, I can't talk about anything that I don't know in detail. But my strength is that I can find someone who knows. I can find an expert and I can share their knowledge with our readers. And so that's what I do, is connect, people.
That is a huge skill, I think.
Thank you.
I think being resourceful is probably one of the most useful skills that you can have. And just having that data bank where you can just connect the people with what needs to happen.
And we also connect the community as far as like through the events and things like that. I mean, there's a bunch of a myriad bunch of ways that we connect everybody. But
yeah, it really serves a purpose.
Thank you.
Here in town. I think it does. So obviously you love this.
I do.
What do you love most about doing the magazine?
Oh gosh, I've always said it's my baby, and I saw a psychic once that. This is when I was in a difficult period. It was just about to stop publishing Evolving Woman, and I was about to get a divorce, and it was just a real tough period. And I went to this psychic, and she said, and because of my, I don't want to call it shyness, but just I have a over the top personality, but I also, that whole right-left brain thing, I'm an introvert and an extrovert,
Oh, yeah,
both.
introverted extrovert.
And so she told me, she said, use Evolving as your mask, because I had said, I don't know how to act at these functions. I'm supposed to go and act like a publisher, and I don't know. Keep in mind, I was 29 when I started the magazine. And so I was very young, and I was just like, I don't know how a publisher's supposed to act. And she's like, and a publisher acts however you act. But she said, use the magazine as your mask. And in the sense of, we all put a mask when we go out. We'll put that on in the sense of to get opportunities I might not have if I wasn't using that mask.
Right.
In that sense. Not being false, but just to give me the courage of, okay, well, this is who I am right now. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And to be able to go out and do that.
Yeah, to let the magazine speak for you. And in a way, that's why I created Radiate Wellness.
Yes.
Because, in my talents and my gifts and whatever, I'm terrible at self-promotion. But, man, I can promote a group. It makes it a lot easier. And so I can see that, having that take on your personality and let it speak for you in a way.
Yes, and share their information versus saying, I know and I'm going to write everything, It's
exactly. But you always find people, somebody to do astrology, somebody to do mental health, somebody who does, a variety of topics. I mean, there's a wealth of people, and it seems like you know everybody.
It sure seems like it. I don't know. And we find this is something that it just happened. It wasn't intentional.
Isn't that beautiful?
That our cover is always a local artist.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real important piece of making it a community publication.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Linda Flake is a local artist who, she was on our first cover. She's the only time we had a picture of a person, a photo.
Oh, my goodness,
Now we've had photo art, but other than that, so it just evolved into being, once we started discovering local artists to show.
There are so many. There are so many. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast rather than watching it, you're wondering what the heck we're talking about. On the cover of the December 2018 issue of Evolving, there's this gorgeous painting of Mother Mary, and it looks kind of Byzantine, but just beautiful colors that pop right off the page. And this is a local artist who painted this.
Yes, Elle-Marie painted that, and
my goodness.
And I felt so fortunate. She even sent me a print of, because I love this painting.
The blues. I can't tell you. I'm just in love with this painting.
Yes, and Interurban Art House last year hosted. For the first time, we had a cover artist reunion show, and so all of the cover artists came and showcased their work, and it was very touching. I mean, energetically, you could just feel it, and because some of them were back from Evolving Woman, you know what I mean? It was just
I'm wondering how I missed that.
I know, so we're going to make it an annual event. So.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that. Oh, thank you for doing that. Yeah, because it's just such a hometown newspaper without being homey or folksy, right? It's very professional publication that happens to be about our community. And I feel like the Kansas City metaphysical community is very close. I feel like I'm always surprised when I find out somebody new.
That's true.
Like, how do I not know
well,
that
when you
person?
said I know a lot of people, everyone just seems to know each other.
They do,
in the
absolutely. We all seem to.
For such a big metro, we are very tight knit.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the unique things about Kansas City that I just absolutely love. And I think the metaphysical community here is so strong, and just some really top-notch folks that you have advertising in your magazine and writing for you.
And their support, like Dr. Nancy, she's been on this back cover for 9 years, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible support. And because, there are a lot of smaller practitioners, massage therapists and things like that. But if someone is looking for this particular type of thing, this is where they're going to go to find them.
Absolutely.
And so it's a perfect fit. I'm not saying any other publication in Kansas City isn't great. I'm just saying this is the only one that is exactly fine-tuned to these specific topics.
Absolutely.
And so it's a great fit for our advertisers. And so that's why they stick.
That's why they stick. And you're in how many locations in the
250 throughout Kansas City.
That's amazing. And what types of locations?
Oh my gosh! Well, I used to always say Borders, and the bookstores aren't as much anymore. But coffee and tea houses, churches, libraries. Libraries are usually where you can find the most copies. And if readers want to go online, you can go to evolvingmagazine.com, and there's a distribution tab where they just put in their zip code to find the closest place. That's easier than trying to tell them where to go.
Right. Or they can read it online, too.
Yes. And while they're there, they can read it online.
Is there a difference between the online version and the print version?
We have two different versions online. The whole magazine itself is online, hosted through Issue. So they can click it and it changes pages just like the magazine. I don't believe that's really reader-friendly online because you have to zoom in, to get it to read. So we also have each article on the homepage to where they can click through and just read the article itself.
Oh, good.
So the whole issue is online as individual articles, but then also the magazine.
Oh, good. And then are there back issues as well?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, and through Issue you can read the past 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because you rebooted in 2009, you said?
Right. Well, I say 10 years. February will be 10 years.
Congratulations. Are you doing anything to celebrate?
Well, one of my salespeople says we've always joked, my mom always said, you should be on the cover like Oprah. And I said, I'm not Oprah, and I don't want to. You know? Either way it goes, I don't think it's a great idea.
Right.
Well, Karen, one of my salespeople, says, on the 10th year, we should all be on the cover. But
there you
it's
go.
It's a joke. But
I'm looking forward to seeing what the 10th year anniversary.
Me too, now that you've got me thinking about it.
This is a big opportunity. I'm sure the whole community would love to celebrate that.
Yes,
you know,
love to.
We've got such a close knit community,
Definitely.
and everybody loves the magazine, of course. And what are some of your favorite stories? Do you think? Like, do you have anything that really stands out?
As far as articles that have run?
Articles or just stories about the people who are in the magazine? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay. We have had such dynamic, we have ongoing writers, the monthly columnist, Suzette Schultz with the yoga studio, Jude LeClaire is a local therapist.
Right.
So we've got this mix of, Jude, Suzette, yoga, therapy. Dr. Nancy writes about holistic health, and we've got the Eating Well in Kansas City, which was actually a separate publication.
Oh, right.
But there wasn't enough to support it, and so I brought it inside of Evolving Magazine. So, because I'm sorry, nutrition goes with,
Absolutely.
with
That was
living.
really smart, Jill.
Thank you. You're so sweet. So we have two writers for that. One is Angela Watson-Robertson, and she's a local nutritionist. And then the other is, they're alternating months, but Mary Negan with Cultivate Kansas City.
Yeah, they're great.
Yes, and I might have it backwards. She might, yeah. And then Emily and Brandy with Casey Food Circle. And they alternate months. And we've really, Mary wrote about her family recipe for pho, and she shared the recipe.
I'm sorry, pho?
Pho, well, it's spelled P-H-O.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought it was pho, but in the magazine, she clarified this month that it's pho. I never knew that.
See, I always called it po. See, what do I know?
Most people call it pho, but
yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I saw that recipe as I was looking through it just briefly.
But it's gotten a lot of response because everybody loves it.
Everybody loves chicken soup.
I know,
and it's Vietnamese chicken soup,
and it's winter.
It's winter, yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I really like the food stuff that's in the magazine. Yeah.
But we tend to focus on, which is something I'm passionate about, whole local seasonal eating. And
right.
So it's just. All these diets out there and stuff. I think the only real diet is to eat real food. I
think so too. I don't know if you ever heard about the Amish diet that was out there a few years ago. It was basically eat fresh food and do a lot of work outside.
Yes.
Right. And it makes so much sense. Yeah, but Kansas City loves its food. We've got a big food tradition.
We've got some fantastic.
And we've got some fantastic whole food restaurants around here. So that's a real natural fit, and I'm glad that you've incorporated that part. As far as are there pillars, like regular features that we can always count on in the magazine?
Each month is a different theme.
Yeah.
And they stay similar year to year, but we switch them out a little bit depending on interest or if there's something new, that's out there. Just examples, August is our food issue, and so it's all food. It's our whole Eating Well in Kansas City. The December one that just came out is kind of the stress-related side of the holidays, focusing on self-care during the holidays, so it's not just how to party, it's, how to, breathe during a busy period, and January is always, the new beginnings and vision boards and, coaching and how to get started. So each one's different. March is our wellness directory each year, but we have a metaphysics issue. Every month's a different theme.
Yeah.
And so it gets that whole variety, but we have different writers for the theme each year, so it's even different within itself, if I'm making sense.
Right. Yeah, no, totally making sense, because there's a lot of moving parts there. And I've just only started really dipping my toes into writing, and which I absolutely love. And so that's a good avenue for people to just share information, and that the way that you rotate around the different authors, the different writers in town gives people a wide range of voices to hear about topics. And I love that. And you have an astrology column.
We do. Aluna has been writing since Evolving Woman, so she's been doing the horoscopes since then.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I always turn to that. That's the first place I turn, and then usually Jude Leclerc's article on mental health. There's just, every month there's something new and different. There's always something really good that I clip out.
Good.
I've got an article I've been carrying around in my backpack for a long time that I clipped out a couple months ago. So, it's a good source of information.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any next step? Is Evolving going through any more evolution?
Well, a couple years ago, I branched into a new market. And,
oh, really?
Yes. And my vision has been to take it national as a local publication. And that's it's a tough, or it's kind of uncharted in a sense. There have been other similar publications that have come in from other cities.
Yeah.
And what they did was it was the same magazine here.
Right.
And it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because part of the endearment to Evolving Magazine is that it feels like it's ours.
Yeah.
It feels very local. It feels like our community. And so when I branched into Santa Fe, New Mexico, my main objective was to have someone local there who was the publisher.
Yeah.
We would be providing help with things like design and layout that they might not be familiar with, but we wanted everything, content in it. We didn't want it to be the Kansas City version in Santa Fe. It was going to be all local content, all local art, all local everything. And so it was a great idea. And it was a learning experience, just like the first time Evolving Woman was. And so I'm prepared to move on into other cities and to actually go back into Santa Fe at some point. So that's my vision going forward, is to be national, one city at a time. But either as a franchise opportunity or as an associate publisher. I've got a couple options of ways people can do it. But the point is it's the same model of what works. I mean, this is 16 years we're coming up on total of publishing this. It works. And it's just, and I'm sorry, print publishing is tough. I mean, it's a tough business sometimes. And we have a topic that people want to know about. And so, and because it's so intimate in a sense, print works because it's different to read an article. You know what I mean?
It really is. Studies show that we read differently when it's online versus print.
Yes.
We interact with it differently.
And so I believe it's still vital, even though we have that online presence, and we're always doing things to boost that as well. But I'd like to go back into Santa Fe market, and then, when I started traveling 4 years ago, that was my intention, was to, as I went, find different cities and find people to take it over. But part of my problem with taking on too much is that's a big undertaking for myself. Because Judy Kirkpatrick, she's been volunteering for me, doing editing and proofing for the whole 16 years. Karen Cowdery is our salesperson. We now have a web designer and a print designer, and we've got a volunteer editor. We've got 2 volunteer editors. So we have this team, but it's not a team that would take something national. That's a big...
Oh, yeah.
So I've got that big idea, but it's not something I'm ready to take on my own just yet.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting until something comes along that feels right to do that direction. Or I'll do it one at a time, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah, it's very ambitious, but I feel like there's a need.
Yes, and it can be done one at a time.
Certainly.
Because Santa Fe actually was a perfect location, a lot of interest in the topics, people love the articles. We just had a struggle with finding the right person, like I said, that could do that balancing act, and so. But I'm sure I will find the right person at some point, and we'll go
now.
back.
Why Santa Fe? Is there a place? Is there a reason you get pulled there?
It was funny. It was so I told you I was moving out of the Conscious Living Center. Taking the office out of there and not doing workshops and things anymore. So I was having this bulk of time that was opening up from that, and I had brought on Aaliyah Smith, excuse me, who took over doing the print and web design, so it freed up my time. And so the very first trip that I planned was to go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was going to travel by train, and I went from Kansas City, and I was going to go to Santa Fe and Albuquerque in Flagstaff, and this was going to be my first trip that I was going to take as a travel writer. Well, I get to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Well, before I went, I put on Craigslist, and I just said, hey, I'm putting out feelers, just trying to see. And this gentleman contacted me, and he was like, you need to come to Santa Fe. So it was just ironic. The very first place I went, and he convinced me that it is, and it is a perfect place for it. I mean, there's definitely an interest in the topic. It's just, I've got to find that right person.
It is the right person who has the passion for the print, who has the connections.
Yes.
And who has the knowledge.
You got to go to a lot of events and meet people and, and really become part of the community if they're not already. And that's, like my salespeople, Connie Humiston did it for years, and then Karen's been with me Karen Cowdery, for the past 10 years. They're involved in metaphysical things. You know what I mean? And so
they know it.
Yes,
and they know it,
and they
to.
meet the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So as an introverted extrovert, how do you go out and meet these people? Is it just the fairs? Do you make calls? I mean,
Is for ad sales?
Sales and getting people to write as well.
People come to me for writing as far as that goes. When the way it's gotten now, and especially since we switched over to the glossy magazine, I just put out an email that we're doing a call, because I've got a database of writers that have written for us for 16 years. I just put out a thing, say we're lining up next year's articles, here's our themes, and boom, they're filled. I mean, 2019 is filled already.
I was surprised how quickly that was filled.
Me too.
Absolutely. So that's not hard.
Right, so it doesn't take looking for articles anymore, no.
Right, right. And then with the advertising, you have people to go out and do that for you.
Yes.
Right. So that's fantastic.
But other than that, I meet people. We put on 2 festivals a year.
Yeah.
And those started out originally, and when you said that about the 10-year celebration, originally it started that we would just do an anniversary party.
Fun.
And it was a chance to meet the advertisers and meet the readers and bring everyone together. And they kind of morphed into doing these festivals because we would have one in the spring at Unity Overland Park, which is not there any longer, so we'll need to find a new location. But then in the fall, Unity Temple on the Plaza.
Right.
And so 2 different parts of town, 2 different seasons, and it's the same, but different, each time. And so it's a way to really get to meet everybody and say thank you as well.
Yeah, and so can you say a few words about the Conscious Living Festivals, about what they're about? And
Definitely. We have a variety of vendors, and really it's kind of a way we bring the magazine to life. We'll have workshops every hour, completely free. The event is free and the workshops are free, and so every hour people can learn about journaling we've had so many different whatever topics are in the magazine, they're going to get to do workshops about it at the festival. And then we have 50 to 75 vendors, and so, it's the whole Meyer Hall at Unity Temple, and people can come and get to meet the people that they're seeing in the magazine each month and learn more. So
it's everything from acupuncture to yoga.
Everything.
And everything in between. Right? And sometimes there are food vendors who have little samples to give out, and people are doing sample sessions, and
and jewelries and stones, and just everything.
Everything. And it is the magazine coming to life. Really, it's like a deep dive in the magazine. That's where we got one of our practitioners. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, Steve Sanders, who's our life coach, fabulous life coach.
Wonderful.
Came to my talk on angels at the Conscious Living Fair at Unity Temple.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and he's just fabulous. Been on podcast twice. So we got one of our practitioners that way.
Excellent.
So it's a fun fair, and there's sometimes music.
Yes. At times, Victor Doherty, he's an old friend. He's a great musician. Been in Kansas City for forever performing, but a dear old friend as well. And so he would help me out. And he wasn't there this past year, and that's why I said he would. But I'm sure he will at times. And so
when he's available.
Yeah,
and
we had Beth
sure.
Bird come this year, and she was her butterfly.
Beth Bird is a local clown, and she takes clowning to the next level.
Yes.
Very interactive, and she's all over town. The all about town clown, I suppose you could call her. But she's a lot of fun. And that's, of course, music is one thing that you can't really have in the magazine,
right?
Because it's print.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so it's a nice addition.
It is. And we've had sound healing and other kinds of music as well.
That's right. Rama Inacio, who's this local sound healer, he does stuff there as well. It's a nice fair. You can't get too many metaphysical fairs, I think.
No.
They're always interesting.
Well, and most of them in Kansas City have a real specific theme. You have a metaphysical fair, or you'll have psychic readings, or you'll have,
Yeah.
This is more just a holistic fair, And,
It is, right.
So each one, people go to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
The PRS fair is mostly for the psychics, and the
Right.
KC Metaphysical is, the very metaphysical side. But then, the Conscious Living Fair is
we have, like you said, the nutrition. There'll be vegan, food, and all kinds of things.
all kinds of things, right? Yeah, because you really have a large umbrella.
Conscious living is pretty big umbrella. I mean, it really is.
Well, so is evolving. It's a pretty big umbrella.
Yes.
There's room for all kinds of holistic, alternative, metaphysical, spiritual, self-care, self-help. There's room for a lot under that umbrella. Thank you for providing that opportunity
so much.
for
Thank
everyone.
You. I love it. I really do.
I'll bet you do. You've been doing it for so long. Can you even imagine your life without it?
Well, no, and it's a joke but this goes to the testament of once you put something out to the universe. 10 years ago, I was doing a vision setting kind of thing, and they said, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I said, well, 10 years because I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And as much as I love it, I still kind of keep wanting to do other things as well.
Right.
So 10 years ago, I said, well, in 10 years, I'd like to be kind of retired from the magazine, still be doing it, but not as heavily involved, so that I can be free to travel and focus more on travel writing. Well, that's what I started doing 4 years ago. So I'm still very heavily involved with the magazine, and I always will be, but it's giving me the opportunity to another evolving kind of aspect of that solo travel and the inner discovery that you have through travel and things like that. So
I noticed you had the travel section. I think it was in September, or the travel issue.
Right.
Was that kind of a new thing? I feel like
since I started traveling, the September issue is our Sacred Journeys.
Yeah, the Sacred Journeys, and there is something really meaningful and moving about travel. I feel
it is. It gets you out of your element. I've overcome a lot of things through travel. And,
interesting.
I mean, phobias and things that I had been dealing with because of a trauma, and it immerses you, it gets you out of your comfort zone.
Right.
And then the unknown becomes comfortable because, change is hard. It's hard for people. Well, travel is constant change. And so once you can get into that and enjoy that, then I'm sorry, driving on the highway or whatever might be,
It's a piece of cake.
Right.
Yeah, and going into a strange shop that you've never been in before and talking with the owner, all of a sudden it's not scary.
Right. And maybe I'm not as shy anymore.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice benefit of travel. Right.
And I really haven't put my finger on how it does that, but I just know part of it is being able to go with the changes, because you can't plan. You can't plan everything exactly to a T, so it has to be, my mantra became, what is, not what if, just constantly having to bring myself into the moment when I'm traveling, because I would get on that train to take a 3-week trip, and I was terrified in the beginning. I wrote about it a lot, how terrified I was. And for me, it was this fear, I guess, of the unknown. I'm going off to places I've never been, things I've never, just that unknown. And instead, I learned to be in that moment of, well, right now, I'm in Santa Fe, you know what I mean? And I don't have to think about where, or right now I'm in Kansas City, you know what I mean? And so that helped me immensely get over that fear, in doing it. The psychological end of it, aspect of it is repetition. The more you do something, you become more comfortable.
But you're right. I think the power of now, I mean, that's a big book, and the power of being present and mindful in the moment, and so just blooming where you're planted. And right now I'm in Santa Fe. I'm exploring what it has to offer, and then it is kind of a little scary. You're talking about a big globe, and you're this tiny little point somewhere on the globe. And
instead of thinking, okay, I'm in Santa Fe, but I'm going to go to Albuquerque, and what am I going to do when I get off the train there? Because Instead, it's no, I'm in Santa Fe, and I've had the synchronistic happenings. I met in Santa Fe, like I said, that was my first trip, and I posted on Facebook that I was in Santa Fe. This woman, we just happened to already be connected on Facebook, and she says, I'm in Santa Fe, and I'm from Kansas City, and it's Patty, and we're very good friends now, and she's now moved back to Kansas City, but she came and picked me up. She took me around Santa Fe. I mean, and then I ended up having to take a different train. And, I mean, it was just to have that person there to help you.
Awesome.
You know, it's just, and those kind of things happen all the time. You know, this past year I've been traveling more with groups because they've been organized press trips.
Yeah.
But when I'm by myself, I see the value in both. Because I felt a connection to people that I was missing with this traveling with groups. But I really got to overcome a lot by traveling by myself. And I found that more people talked to me, and I met more people. You know, when I'm by myself on a train, people talk to me, or maybe I talk to them because I'm by myself. I don't know. But when my sister went with me one time to Santa Fe, if there's two people, they don't
talking to each other.
Right.
Yes.
And so there's real value in traveling solo. And I met a lot of solo women travelers that incredible stories. I mean, incredible stories. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole genre of
It is.
literature. Yeah, as women travelers. Oh, that is so exciting. And so you said that your trip to Santa Fe was your first trip?
My very first solo train travel, you know, because I picked the train focus 4 years, and 2015 is when I started January on the train. And so I picked train travel as a focus. So what I had to do, because the train takes longer to get places, I would get a 2-week pass so that I could go to 8 places in 15 days.
Yeah.
And that way I could really immerse myself instead of, you know, going to Jefferson City and back or something. You know what I mean? That's close. And so I did a whole Northeast loop. I did the Southeast. I did the Northeast. I've done Southwest. I was supposed to do the Northwest, but I haven't yet because they had flooding last year when I was supposed to go. So instead I went through Colorado by train, and it was fantastic.
That sounds beautiful.
You look over the edge, and you go to places that there aren't utility poles. No one can get there except for by train. And so it's just it's one of their most spectacular routes that they have, the California Zephyr through Colorado. So I'm digressing, but I love talking about travel.
Well, that's your side gig, isn't it? It's your side hustle is travel writing. You know, why not? If you're going to travel, why not make some money writing about it?
Right.
You know, I think that's a great way to travel, in fact. Oh, that's wonderful.
And to keep Evolving Magazine vital, our demographic has always been 35 to 55, and, you know, for the bulk.
Right.
35 to 55. And keep in mind, I started it when I was almost 30. And so I was always the demographic when I said I was sharing things that were pertinent to me.
Right.
Well, I'm getting at the end of our main demographic. And so we really need to have younger people to keep it relevant.
Sure.
I was talking with another writer about this she worked for a magazine that was for boomers. And she said, you know, the boomers, now they're losing their readers because, you know, and so ours is always going to be probably for people 35 to 55 because that's when women especially tend to start looking within. When the kids get older, they have more free time, they have more discretionary income, and they can get massages and things that they couldn't do when they were raising small children, things like that. And we do have a 55-plus readership as well, so I'm not discrediting that, but I'm just saying the bulk of it's 35 to 55.
Yeah.
So to keep the magazine relevant, though, I really need to have younger people working on the publication. And so our editor and designers and things like that, they are in that demographic. But my vision, I guess, is I'd like to bring someone in to replace me, the bulk, you know, at some point, the bulk, because it can't always be about me.
But for now, it works.
Right.
By Jill for Jill. I love that.
I know.
You know, your own private magazine, but it's not. I mean, I can see how you may have started that way. It's like, why not? I've got this interest. You know, let's find out more about it. And I just have to say, that's incredible. I did not realize that you were just like learning magazine publishing and doing it at the same time. Did you have any idea how crazy that was at the time?
No, I just thought, boy, this is fun. I mean, I really like to, I'm self-taught on so many things, and people joke that I'll get an idea and I want to run with it. I don't want to take a long time.
Right.
And it's not just an impulsive thing. Obviously, it is impulsive in a sense, but for me, it's practical because if I have to go learn about it, I'm probably never going to go do it. But if I can jump in and start doing something, I learn as I go, and it works. You know, and there have been a lot of things that I get ideas for and they don't work, and it's like, well, that didn't work.
Well, that didn't work. Right.
So, just try
What do you
something
think
else.
the biggest learning curve was for you?
For myself, it was ad sales.
Yeah.
The business part is really hard for when someone's a writer to get that, that end of it. But like I said,
Right.
having that training just helped immensely to learn
I'll bet.
just how a magazine runs. So that was my biggest learning curve, was the business background side of it, the back end.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of magazines and publications here in Kansas City. We've got a big publishing house, and we've got smaller publishing houses as well. So,
Yes.
Kansas City's not as well known as Chicago or New York for that type of thing, but we do have it. And so there's places to learn, of course, and, fantastic salespeople around. And
Yes.
the people you have, they've been doing it for a long time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Fantastic. Well, is there anything we haven't talked about that you think is important to mention about evolving or about your journey?
Gosh, I don't believe so. Just really focusing more going forward on events, because it's such a, people joke about that I sit behind my computer, which is true. There's a lot of computer
There's
time.
some of that.
But I have found the value of, at least for myself, at these events, getting to meet people one-on-one. So the 2 festivals per year, and then, like I said, last year, Interurban Art House hosted the artist reunion, so if we could do one of those a year. Just more events to get people together.
Well, for me at the events, there was one of your events a couple years ago. I was like, "Oh, you're Jill Dutton. I didn't realize that you were a real person walking around Kansas City."
Right.
So here you are. And it's good to put a face with a name, and just kind of connect that. Yes, this is a community publication sponsoring this event. It's really nice.
Yes.
Yeah, Jill, thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me.
Christy,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Absolutely. We will put the link to Evolving Magazine online in the show notes, so anybody can connect with the magazine and learn more about it, read the great articles, check out is the calendar of events online?
Well, since the magazine's online, you can see all of the events, and then they're also shared on our Facebook page, on Evolving Magazine's Facebook page.
Oh, Evolving Magazine Facebook page,
Yes.
of course. And I'm sure you're on all the socials.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Definitely
Yes.
all the socials
Yes.
at Evolving Magazine KC, or
It's different ones, because Twitter is Evolving Mag.
yeah.
So the different ones, you have to search for it. But if you go to evolvingmagazine.com, you can find links to everything.
perfect, all the socials. So get connected and radiate connection.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you so much.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.